So in this question, we have part of a bus timetable between Bury and Manchester, and then we have the timetable below, and we're asked how many minutes should the 8:25 bus take to go from Bury to Manchester. Now with questions like these, when we're given a table, it's often a good idea to kind of start by making sense of it and see what it's showing us. So if I have a look, in the first column we have the place names, so going from Bury to Whitefield to Heaton Park, all the way to Manchester at the end, the final destination. And then we have lots of times in this part of the table. Now, if we know that the bus is going to be stopping at all of these places, we must know that we're going to be working down the columns in order to see what time the bus is going to stop at each stop. So each column represents a different bus. So, for example, this column here is the 8:25 bus from Bury. So we go, it stops at Bury at 8:25, and then the same bus will stop at Whitefield at 8:34, etc., until it stops at Manchester at 9:05. So in order to calculate how many minutes this 8:25 bus should take to go from Bury to Manchester, I need to work out the difference between the two times when it stops at Bury and Manchester. So if it stops at Bury at 8:25 and at Manchester at 9:05, I can find the difference between these two. So I know there's 60 minutes in an hour, so I can count up from 8:25 to 9, and that gives me 35 minutes, and then I have this extra 5 minutes as it's 9:05 to add on. So the 35 plus 5 gives me an answer of 40 minutes here for the time taken. So in this question, I'm told that Daniel goes from Whitefield to Manchester by bus. I'm told that it takes Daniel 17 minutes to get from his house to the bus stop in Whitefield, and it takes 15 minutes to get from the bus stop in Manchester to his work, so at the other end of his journey. We're told that Daniel has to get to work by 10 a.m. and that he leaves his house at 8:45, and we're asked to use all of this information to work out whether he does get to work by 10 a.m, showing all of our working along the way. So we're given a lot of information in this question, and it's often a good idea to kind of look through and see what we're going to be needing to work with first. So here I think it's a good idea to kind of start from the beginning. We're given the time that he leaves his house and the time that it takes him to reach the bus stop in Whitefield. So it's going to be a good idea to kind of use this to work out what the earliest bus possible he can catch is. So here we're told he leaves his house at 8:45 a.m. So if I take this 8:45, I need to add on basically the time that it takes for him to walk to the bus stop from his house, which I'm told here is 17 minutes. So in effect, if I add on kind of 17 minutes here, this is going to take me to the next hour. So if we add on 15, we're going to get to 9 o'clock, and then we need to add on that extra 2 to get to 17. So that gives us a time of 9:02 a.m. Now, if I have a look at the timetable that we have, we need to see what the next bus he can possibly catch is. And he's catching this bus from Whitefield. So if I look in the Whitefield row, 8:34 has already gone, so he won't be able to make that bus. And here we have the 9:04 bus, which is 2 minutes after 9:02, so he will be able to get on this bus. And this is the next earliest bus to Manchester. So all of the other buses are later, and then they will arrive later in Manchester. So this bus is going to be the one that he needs to catch. So he's then going to get on the 9:04 bus we've established, and we can see that this 9:04 bus is going to arrive in Manchester at 9:35. So we can also write this down. Now he's arrived in Manchester at 9:35. And all he has to do from here is then walk to his work. And again, looking through all of the information that we were given, we're told here that it takes him 15 minutes to get from the bus stop in Manchester to his work. So we can take the time that he arrives at the bus stop and then add on that 15 minutes. So we basically have 9:35, add on 15 minutes, and that's going to give us a time of 9:50. 9:50. And 9:50 is before 10 a.m, which is when he needed to be at work by. So we can conclude that yes, he will get to work in time. Now, as for how the marks are awarded here, so we would get a mark for a correct process to kind of show the time of departure for his train. So something to do with working out the original time it takes him to get to the bus stop so that he'll reach the bus stop at 9:02. Some kind of calculation within the first part of the question gains us a mark. And then a second mark is going to be for the process to use a bus time from Whitefield to Manchester with other times. So either doing this original 17 and then calculating the bus time and working out when he'll get to Manchester, or at the other end, adding on this 15 minutes to a time that the bus reaches Manchester. And then the final mark here is going to be for the conclusion. So we've concluded with yes, and that's supported by the correct figure of the time that he will get there, which is 9:50.